The Ravens of Thri Sahashri, from Osprey Games and developed by Kuro, is what the Attenborough Guide to Board Game Classification would describe as a small box card game. But this game is anything but small, and the game transcends the cards. And it doesn't even have a box. Ravens is a two-player game, with one player taking on the role of Feth and the other the comatose Wren. You heard me right, comatose, which means that the game is either conducted in silence, or at least with no discussion of the game while it's being played. We'll come back to that. Feth's goal is to rebuild Wren's heart through her memories, which he can see through the coma dream he's sharing with her. I said it was weird. Anyway, you're screaming at me, what does that actually mean? Fair, but please less shouting so near my ear. It means you're trying to give Wren the cards she needs to construct 4 lines of cards. Wren will start with 4 random cards, and will choose which of the 4 lines each of those cards will start. What's important here is the numbers on the cards, because to win the game, Wren's heart has to match the rhythm of a certain type of Japanese poem, a dodoitsu. A dodoitsu follows a 7-7-7-5 syllable pattern, so the first 3 rows of Wren's collection each have to contain cards adding up to 7, and the final row cards adding up to 5. Playing as Feth, you're largely based in the visual aspect of this game, creating a blanket of cards where faded areas overlap faded areas, and clear areas overlap clear. You do that by drawing as many cards as you like, and then, once you think you've drawn enough, inserting them into the tableau. But you aren't just trying to make a gorgeous pattern, you're trying to give Wren the cards you think she needs. Then you also have to make sure that when the poem is complete, only cards which match a colour of one of the 4 cards Wren started with are in the central weave. What Wren can do is take 1 card a turn from the weave. She can then either place that card face up in her heart poem, or she can discard it. The core of the game comes in that highly limited and ambiguous form of communication. What did she mean when she discarded that card? That she's never going to need it, or that she just doesn't need it now? Or she needed to get rid of it to get something it had buried? Oh, and you have to go through and complete the poem 3 times to win a game. And the fact that all of that can only be communicated by the moving of a card means that your playing partner is desperately trying not to scream at you, why are you giving me all of these 5s? But their face is just a passport picture of forced neutrality. And damn, if that's not a stupidly entertaining form of constraint. And at the surface level, that's why Ravens is really good fun. It's this constant build of anticipation when you can finally tell your partner why you thought it would be a good idea to get rid of all those 5s because you knew that they didn't need them. Okay, but I said this wasn't a small game, and you can see that physically it is, at least in its non-box. It's because there's still more going on below the basic level of the game's pleasingly naughty silent puzzle solving. So first, let's talk about how you lose. Way number 1 are the titular Ravens, which, once they come out of the deck, don't go back in, and if all 5 of the Ravens are out of the deck at the same time, essentially, your friend Wren is toast. She's a perma-vegetable. You can lose if you run out of cards from the deck. In theory, that should be pretty tricky to do, as only the cards in Wren's poem are automatically discarded from the game at the end of the round. But the Ravens, once they're out, also start to eat away at your deck. So not only is Feth trying to solve a puzzle he's only getting the vaguest clues to while building a visual jigsaw, the only resource he has not only has the potential to harm him, but also the more he uses it, the more danger he's in. So Feth's position is starting to sound pretty tasty, right? It's a really hard place to be in, but it sounds like a fun puzzle to crack if you can. And I bet that you probably just said, I could beat that. And bam! Ravens just got you. That's the whole thing. It's a board game hard man teasing you to come and have a go if you think you're hard enough. And speaking of hard, there's another way you can lose. In the third and final round of the game, Wren has to complete a line of her poem every single turn. Ravens of Thri Sahashri is this constantly escalating test of your wits, but beating a hard exam is one of the greatest feelings your brain can have. Ooh, that is a nerdy sentence.
But if you related to it, then you're starting to see why I'm taking the time to talk about this game. If you like getting your butt kicked by a hard puzzle, but then triumphantly turning around and laying it out at the end, you probably also have had the experience of puzzles that kind of just keep booting you in the posterior. Let's call those bullshit puzzles. So, what are Raven's anti-bullshit methods?
You may have noticed the text on the bottom of all these cards. Those are special powers which can help the players out. Things like saving cards from being eaten by the Ravens or slightly futzing with the placement rules as Feth. But this ain't no freebie. Ravens is still pushing you to achieve something hard and fulfilling, not easy and forgettable. You can only use those powers once they're in the poem, and then you can typically only use them once. That's it. That's everything I need to explain to you about this game. It's not all the rules, but it's everything you need to know right now.
And it seems like a lot, and a lot of complicated stuff that probably isn't coalescing into a game in your head. And you know what that sounds like? That sounds like a dream, which is exactly what Ravens wants you to believe you're participating in. I love Ravens and felt compelled to make a video about it, kind of because it is so weird and yet so great. My experiences of playing this game with other people have been identical. They turn to me and they get it. They'll say, "This is weird. So very incredibly weird, Gavin. But I need to play this again. 'Cause it's beautiful."